This is our Unconstitutional Awakening program.
Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition.
Brought to you by KD Consulting Redesigned.
Ahoy, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unconstitutional Awakening. Jim Bob Ovalshorts here, and tonight I brought Neptune and Kel back with me to co-host as we had Chris from Forbidden Knowledge News come on and join us. For those of you that aren't familiar, of course, I'll have his links in this episode so you can get back to him. But I mean, this is one of the big dogs. Like, this is the kind of people that I've been watching that inspired, my show and stuff like that. Chris and like Josh and like just. There's so many different people out there that have been doing this longer than me, and I think they do a fantastic job. And I reached out to Chris, and he got right back to me. So I really appreciate that, bud. And how's everyone doing this evening?
Hey, man. Okay. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. And the check's in the mail for those kind words. No, just kidding. Then I love it. I love that. There's so, like I was talking to you before, there's so many new podcasts up and coming. I love to see these young people and people like yourselves getting out there, spreading your truth, spreading information. And people, that's what people want to see now. People want to see honest, genuine people out here doing their thing. And I appreciate you having me on. It's always a good time being on the other side of this thing.
Fantastic. Yeah. So I mean, I guess with that, you're prone to asking the questions. So this time I'm gonna ask the questions. I guess what started you in Forbidden Knowledge News?
Well, it just started as a hobby. I was working a full-time corporate sales for cell phones and cable. And I was very good at it. I was making a decent living, but I was miserable doing it. And this was, I remember it was about 2013, 2014, I started getting into conspiratorial aspects of reality and looking into ufology and paranormal and just all the stuff that I cover. And I just got so deep in these rabbit holes and found so much fascinating, wonderful information that I wanted to share it with people. And I started a Facebook blog. And the Facebook blog just picked up steam. People enjoyed some of the articles and stories I was sharing in the Facebook blog. And I'm like, man, I got to talk to some of these people writing these articles. I got to talk to some of these authors, some of these presenters, some of these researchers that I am getting this information from and looking up to, and talk to them and interview them. There was a couple of shows at the time that I was into, like Leak Project, the Higher Side Chats, Coast to Coast, of course. And they had very few to choose from, like I was telling you earlier. But I would listen to those, and then I'd go, find my favorite authors and researchers and get in touch with them. And, just like myself, they were happy to come on. They enjoyed doing this. They enjoyed talking to people about truth. And I started getting my favorite heavy hitters on, and that just took off. So, I started it started as a YouTube and Facebook. And then the YouTube, I had Charlie Robinson on. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He suggested I do a podcast. And, me and Charlie hit it off after a couple of episodes and got me in touch with my partner, Corey Hughes, who's now my production and business partner. And he started the podcast. And that just as soon as that happened, everything really, really took off. And I, was eventually able to quit this job that I hated doing daily, this corporate, devil dick job that I called it at the time. And pursue this this podcast dream and be able to do this full time. And I'm very grateful to be in the position I am, and very grateful to all my audience who stuck with me during the years, and mainly the people who come on the show and are willing to present the information and be there with me. So it's been a wonderful journey so far.
It sounds like it. So I got to ask, what's your, you talk about the conspiracy holes and stuff. What's your favorite conspiracy?
I don't think there is a favorite. I go in different, ups and downs and different rabbit holes at different times. It just depends on how I'm feeling and what I'm looking at. Right now, for me, is the whole alien deception. I just did a couple of shows about it where we've done some deep dives into what I consider is a huge mainstream deception when it comes to ufology.
Project Bluebeam?
Well, maybe it could be a possibility, but what I'm talking about is what they're trying to portray in the mainstream media and how much of the UFO community has been infiltrated by certain characters, former intelligence, three-letter agencies, military that like to go and muddy the waters in these communities. And they have quite a few of those individuals in the communities right now. In fact, that's one of the reasons I stopped covering conferences and doing conferences in general, is because of the nefarious individuals that have kind of infiltrated this space. And, after I had my own contact experiences, my views of ufology and aliens and extraterrestrials changed vastly. And as I continued to have my experiences, but not only that, at the same time, we started to see the government and the military so-called disclosing information. And anytime you see the government we have, or any government really around the world, telling you that the sky is blue, you guarantee the sky is going to be red, purple, anything but blue. Right. So that's what I've learned about anything having to do with trust of our government information that's coming out, or mainstream media. They work hand in hand to just spread propaganda and misinformation. So I go off of independent researchers and people I trust and my own experiences, rather than listen to anything that's going to be on the TV or from the mainstream media or the news.
Smart, man.
That's where I'm coming from with that.
No, I feel that a lot too. Like, I believe that just about everything that comes off of the mainstream media is some form of scripted something, especially when you start watching, around everywhere else and getting into things like Operation Mockingbird and such, that you see there's like been operatives inside of the media for many years now. And so, it does make it a hard to trust kind of source. We kind of work together. There's, as I was mentioning to you earlier, there's an array of people in the Unconstitutional Awakening family. And, we've got different folks keeping up with news all day, and different folks keeping up with, different aspects of social media and stuff. And we do a lot of memeing. That's honestly what started this. Like, I was a meme guy. I got banned a ton of times on platforms and ended up on TikTok making funny videos like about conspiracy stuff, and with my hat. And I don't know, it hit off. And then one morning we woke up and I had 100,000 something followers. Our meme pages were doing great. And I was like, hey guys, I'm going on the Red Pill Project to help Josh Reed out. And then a little while down the road, I come back to him. I was like, hey guys, we're doing our own podcast. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah, I already paid for everything. So we kind of don't have a choice.
Yeah. No, man, I love it. There's like this kind of meme revolution going on where people are presenting truth through hilarious memes. And I love it. I love, getting my information through something that's going to make me laugh as well. And some of these are just so on point. But, we have this social media wars going on right now between the propaganda media and memes, and then what we see every day. If I challenge anyone in the audience to go to someone with the opposite political or social or religious or spiritual views from you and scroll down their Facebook and see what kind of bizarro opposite world they are living in. I'm completely convinced there are very different timelines people are living on right now, and it's based on what they're seeing in social media, the news, and the amount of fear that they're carrying about whatever certain topic is being pushed. So, man, I love some things that are happening and some things are terrifying. We are being pushed into this new technological metaverse age where they just want to shove us into, computer systems and just lock us in our consciousness in there, and then we can be their slaves. But, that's their ideal future or part of it,
Sure. I mean, I take it that means you're familiar with the Avatar project a little bit. And of course, obviously, like all the other crazy AI stuff going on with like OpenAI and the World Economic Forum and groups like that and stuff like that. You're right. A lot of it is very scary, but at the same time, it's kind of neat. And I'm a little on the fence. Like I can live without it, but
we need to see where this goes after society crumbles after this big economic crash. After we see what happens after that, maybe we can take over the narrative and maybe we can create our own system. But I think we gotta. There's gonna be some struggle before we get there, and I think that's coming up very soon in the next couple of years. I've had some very what I consider reliable sources say that get ready for not only an economic crash, but possibly something having to do with a climate change narrative.
That's the new one they're pulling around.
Yes, that's what they're going to pull out of their pocket next. They're trying to herd people into smart cities, get them to go along with the climate change narrative. And that way they can somehow connect the new global smart grid, which would be totally centralized, to the climate change that is affecting people's power outages, when in fact they're just in control of all of that. And I believe they have the 100% the ability to control the weather too. That's a whole different topic, but I do believe that they have plenty of capabilities to make us believe whatever narrative they're going to put forward. And the whole COVID thing, it's dying. The monkeypox, nobody gives a shit. Like this whole thing has failed miserably, and they got to go to the next step, no matter what it is. And no matter what it is, the economic crash is inevitable.
I think we had another mass shooting today in South Carolina because that's the current narrative. Let's see how many kids. Let's see how many kids we can kill before they get up and do something about it. And to me, that's what I see it as. Like you keep saying how many kids have to die, and I'm just like, is that a threat? Like, are you threatening to kill kids? Because that's how I hear it. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, it's one thing. If it's not one thing, it's another, and that narrative that's kind of going on right now is probably my least favorite. Like
for sure, man. They're trying to disarm us, is plain and simple. Sure. That's what's behind the agenda. As long as we are disarmed and we're like Australia and Canada and some of these other countries that they don't have a fighting chance against their own government, that's where they want us exactly to be, and that's where they can pounce. But I don't think that's ever going to happen here.
It'll never happen.
I don't think we have too many. Our Constitution is too solid when it comes to that, and not only that, but the individuals holding their guns will fight to the death. Each and every one of them holding on to their weapon will fight their own government to the death to hold on to that weapon. So this will not happen here, right?
Sure. I mean, I
think that's why the third world companies look to America, and a lot of them wanted to come here, and they viewed this as the country of freedom because of the spirit of American people. The things that Castro tried over there in Cuba, that'll never happen over there. Them taking all the guns, that'll never happen over there. We got too many militias. We got too many sovereign people that know who they are and know what's right to do. Like Hitler already showed, anytime a government disarms the people, genocide is next.
Sure. And look what they're doing up in Canada right now. He's talking about making sure they can't even get handguns now. Like that dude's off his rocker. I'm sorry.
A lot of them are, man. I disagree with the whole thing. Now, before I say something anti-government, let me just say that there was a guy called Jacques Fresco, man. He already proved that sustainable living is possible without all the monopoly going on with the gas, oil, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Guys like Stan Myers, water cell car. Anytime inventors they put a gag on if they don't gag them, they assassinate them. The holistic teachers and the inventors.
A cop in Buffalo, he was killed, and he was one of the people that was murdered by that mass shooter. Yeah.
And he was
Right, Chris.
he was promoting and making that hydrogen cell car, and like
Yeah, this is a big one,
certain-
man. People have been killed over the whole free energy thing for
Oh,
years, man.
Yes,
And I think that's one of the things that preventing us from getting to the next section of where humanity needs to be is because they're holding on to technology that I believe is 50, 100, maybe 200 years ahead of what we will ever know. And if someone else figures out that this is achievable, that's it. They're gonna off them.
Yep, you've cut into somebody's bottom line, so therefore you must go.
The old Gary Webb outage, and now you get the CIA prize, the two suicide bullets to the back of the head.
I had a gentleman that emailed me, I think it was last year. He didn't want to come on the show, but he wanted to let me know that he had invented this technology because he trusted me. And of course, I'm not going to give away any names, but he was terrified to come on the show because I was like, well, we can blur out your face. I just like the audience to hear about this. And he's like, no, man, they're after me. And I responded to him and never heard back from him, like after the second email. And it was, kind of worrying the way the conversation ended. But man, you got to watch out if you're working on something, if they don't infiltrate you and take you over, which is the first step, if they can't buy you out and take over what you're doing, then that's it.
I have actually seen quite the amount of people, especially since that Buffalo shooter died recently. But with me still being on TikTok and such, pretty regularly, that has been the most recent fad, I guess, in the past month. Is there are so many creators out there making their own hydrogen fueled cars, and I mean not just one person, and then they're getting off like the fella in Buffalo, like Stanley Meyer, like you were talking about down there, like. But I'm talking, I can pull up my feed right now, and there's probably at least 12 people that I see daily that have broke it down and are explaining it, and there's more, of course, out there too. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Like, I think that's what a lot of the trouble with TikTok was at the beginning, is because it's very, I call it the only spot left in the wild west of the web. Like, because the web's been so locked down and controlled by these big tech companies and stuff for so many years. I don't know if you've heard of it. I buy into it a good bit, but the dead internet theory that most of the internet's bots and AI.
Yeah, there's no other way that this can exist. It's a fact that most probably profiles and people that you interact with, who is in your comment section trying to rally you up, is not a real human being. You go to their account and you can't access it. It doesn't exist, or it's just stock photos or something like that. Yeah. But there's so many accounts like this, and there's so many websites, even what are considered government websites, corporate websites, that are just not real. And what's their purpose? Whenever I moved out of Denver a couple of years ago, I remember this is kind of along the same lines, but I was driving around the city and just noticed how many small businesses, or seemingly small businesses, were operating, but they didn't have anything that they were operating out of. And these businesses were things like, selling lamps and out of, furniture and things that aren't really a necessity. And this was at the height of COVID, and these businesses always seem to thrive and keep going. And I'm wondering if even out of the internet, if some of these companies, and that are offshoots of big corporations that trickle down into smaller companies, are not even real, that they are providing the illusion that we still have some sort of commerce and business going on in the real world, when in reality it's just the main corporations that we hear about. They have a few mom and pop stores that are operating, but it's all going to this one big entity. All the tentacles that are even going down to what we think are little local stores, just all going back to the same entity that has the illusion of like hundreds and thousands of different companies and corporations. And I think it's the same way on the internet as it is in actual real life. And it's not sustainable. And I think that's why we're going to see a crash of everything soon, because people are seeing through the illusion of it all.
And there actually is, like, I mean, I can actually back up some of your claims there when you start, chasing the money and stuff. When you actually look at how many companies BlackRock themselves
Yeah.
have the shareholding, whatever, and it's just like, wow, at the end of the day, you're giving all your money to BlackRock because they own, Lord knows, just about anything that's got a corporate sticker on it.
Yeah, it's BlackRock and Vanguard and a couple of others that are on this list, but it's all ultimately, I can guarantee it's all going back to the same fueling entity. And it just, it also makes me wonder when it comes to a large scale players in this game. I think a big part of the confusion going on and what the agenda, the reason agendas are flowing the way they are is because nobody knows who is on our side, if anyone's on our side, what everybody's fighting for. I think it's a bunch of warring factions that have different interests for the futures of humanity, different goals for their outcome. And right now is the perfect time because they all see astrologically and through their ancient occult practices and through all the information that they've gained and wisdom through the secret societies over the years, that this is the right time that they are either going to crumble and burn and we'll never see these elite scumbags again, or they have a chance here to kind of call the herd in, maybe a big depopulation agenda to prevent this fall of their empire, which is inevitable.
They're in their death throes, that's for sure. But I want to ask you guys something like, right? And this is the conspiracy of all conspiracies because it was overtly after, like guys like us, we've seen right through it. But the 9/11 guys,
Right.
for them to be so diabolical, it had to and try to divert the people's attention and created a monster way across the waters. Oh, he's got weapons of mass. This, he's in a cave and he's got. When come to find out, the bombs was pre-planted, fellas, in the building.
I don't doubt that at all, man. Like,
and the planes that supposedly hit the buildings wasn't planes at all. It was CGI. So
I've seen a bunch of that too, and like
right now,
the powers of
for the audience
CGI.
that's listening who never heard this before, now, just what if we are right about the planes being CGI? For those that never have heard this before, and that all the world news media is bought out and being used to program you to their agenda, what they want you to think. So, fellas, my question back to you, right, is like, what do we do with this? Like, we know that there's a resistance. Right? We know that there's a large awakening happening. The mother spirit of the earth is awakening humanity, like the monkey syndrome. To monkeys on separate islands. When one monkey learned how to do something, the whole monkey consciousness group learned the same thing. What are we to do with this type level of diabolical acts that they would do to maintain their power? So it's power because they don't have power. They trick us into giving us our power to them. So what are we to do with this, guys? Is it going to be any more diabolical on that scale as 9/11? Do you think?
I think it'll get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, what it is, it's a multi-generational plan for global domination that has been in families for hundreds, maybe if not centuries. I don't know if the whole what's happening now and 9/11 was part of this age-old plan, but I know that royal bloodlines do consider themselves having a divine right to rule, and there's been a plot for global domination, especially since after World War II, especially after the assassination of Kennedy. These certain groups have been putting forward false flags and different types of operations to gain control. Kennedy assassination, 9/11, war on terror. Now we have COVID. School shootings, all the other things that happened along with him for this group of this cabal to gain as much power as it did. I think the solution now is not to pay attention thrown at us, is to did my mic move? Okay. Yeah. Not to pay attention to what's thrown at us and do your own thing. Don't watch the news, don't pay attention to the BS, and don't listen to the agendas that they're putting forward, and go on your own timeline. For me, I have not worn a mask. I have not been worried about anything since the onset. Of course, I'm not going to go get an experimental jab. And of course, I'm not going to think that any of the things that they're telling me in the media about sicknesses or pandemics are true. And they have, like I told you earlier, that people split off into a fear timeline where they are paying attention. They're all in it. They're getting experimental jabs, and they might have not so good results with that in a year or two. But they have other people who are living their own lives, paying attention to their own families, their work lives, what they're doing, podcasting, things that make them happy, things that make them thrive. And I think that's the key. If you join that timeline, there's nothing to worry about because they have no control over you because you're not even paying attention to what they're trying to do. So I think that's part of it. And the second is sustainable communities. I think we need to have sustainable farms and people that are growing their own food and have their own animals. And we need to link up with these communities across the United States.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other answer, is just linking up with sustainable communities.
I've actually I've been talking to a couple different groups that are trying to build their own black market infrastructure while Rome is crumbling. A lot of them consider themselves nomadic livers, like they're people that are living in their van down by a river, and they're definitely a generation younger than me for sure. You know, these are guys like in their young 20s even, and like I'm just like okay, like, and I listen to what they have to say, and they've got different people scattered daggum near countrywide, and they're already like working together with, like, you know, and it's bits and pieces. It's a mess right now still. They don't really have any good, like, I guess, hierarchy in it or control in the situation, but they are helping each other, like, across the country, and all of them have been doing quite well and surviving over the past year without, you know, a single person falling off the rocker or anything like that. You know, it seems as people's needs are met, everybody's fed, and they all seem happy. And, you know, I've had them on, and I've been talking to a couple other of them that are doing the same thing, just separate from that group and stuff. And I like it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, I think you guys got something going on. You're trying to build your own little tribes all across the country that are all, you know, working together for the betterment of things. And if Rome falls, you guys already have it figured out without Rome. Like, you don't, and that's pretty honorable. You know what I mean? Like, even if it's still a mess right now, they're at least trying. And you know, I think that's a important aspect of it, is out there trying. And I'm gonna interrupt myself and everybody else. I want to bump back into Neptune because he totally had something he wanted to touch on a minute ago, and we overran it.
Yeah, so this is all a great segue. And Chris, I'd like to get your feedback on this particular subject as far as it goes into human control. So we know how the first half of the century, the 20th century, went as far as control over human populations. And it's a controversial subject, but within the scope of addressing human complacency, I feel like it should still be addressed in some forum, and that specifically deals with the United Nations, specifically UN Resolution 181. You know, we talk about the sphere factor that goes into how people are controlled, and obviously now we're talking about the reality that we're on the verge of another economic collapse. And we're less than 15 years removed from the last one, which was a complete catastrophic crisis, right? But we're talking in the grand scheme of things, the complacency of a people, and then dealing with the matter of noncompliance. And I don't want to infer reasoning or just cause, but we talk about Resolution 181. In the long game, it's a matter of how do people compartmentalize, if you're on the wrong side of history, how they're going to treat you. If you're if you don't come out on the right side of a conflict, right? And that doesn't have to just be related directly to us, right? That doesn't have to directly relate to the U.S. Like, we've already seen a civil war. The Civil War battles have netted more blood loss than any conflict in human history as far as the U.S. is concerned.
Sure.
But you think about that in the terms of, you didn't contribute much, and yet you have to give up your sovereignty because you were on the wrong side of history. What does that mean to us as far as people not willing to take a stand? And that's kind of where I was going with that. That in talking about the willingness to disarm and the reality of where we are now, the fact that we are this divided. You got 33% of people on one side of the fence, 33% on the other, and then you've got some people, waiting in the water, right? And I'm just referring to people that vote versus those who don't vote. How do we reconcile that, in your opinion? That people are willing to sell away your rights to make someone else happy. So I'm not trying to infer any conclusions there, but it is. I know it's a controversial subject, but
I mean, it's just as controversial as anything else. But I think that there are individuals that can't be saved, and I think that there are individuals that, if they're not willing to change their ways and understand truth and understand reason and understand normal behavior and human decency, if they choose that much to not listen and not abide by human and natural law, then they can't be saved. I think that they'll go by the wayside, and whatever karma, whatever natural law is going to take care of them in its own way. And I think that as long as we as individuals are doing this, like we're doing every day, speaking our truth, letting people know what is going on, and on our part, walking the walk, as well as talking the talk, not participating in the BS, doing what we can in our local communities, connecting people, growing our own food, starting sustainable communities, and being our own sovereign people. I think that's all we can do, man. And I don't think we need to worry about what anybody else is doing at all, at all. It's a completely separate timeline, and it's not part of my life. Whenever I go to the store, or like I have to go to a disgusting place like Walmart, I consider myself traveling through different dimensions. And I have to tell myself, it's only temporary, man. You're just going to travel there through these dimensions, and you'll be back in your own sweet little utopian timeline soon. Yeah. So, and that's the way I live my life. And I think if more people did that, we'd be in a better place overall.
I think we just became. You're not.
I agree 100%. I feel miserable every time I walk into Walmart. So that I do. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
I holy crap! You just said a lot of the same things that I try to explain to people too. Like, just personally on my beliefs in it. I come to the realization a long time ago that there's no way we're going to be able to save everyone. Like, that's impossible, and thinking that you can is pretty utopian of you. And there are going to be some people, as you said, that just don't want to change. They enjoy their comfort level. They enjoy their servitude. They enjoy their, doing as they're told, and bootlicking, and et cetera, et cetera. And like, I'm not worried about them. I try to focus on my life, my farm, my vegetables, my farm animals. I've got 3 kids that I'm worried about and stuff like that. And I'm unfortunately, this isn't a full-time gig for me yet. I still have to get up in the morning and go deliver appliances. I don't work for a corporate guy. I work for one personal guy with a very small company that I'll keep, disclosed and such. But like, he's a great guy. He's not like working for a corporation and stuff like that. I'm actually going to have the first vacation I've had in, many years, because working for a regular individual that understands this kind of stuff. And I agree with you though. Like when I have to travel out to the grocery store or Dollar General or somewhere to take my kids so that they can go enjoy a day of public, whatever, whether it be the Renaissance Festival or Six Flags or something of that nature, I'm just like, all right, cool. We're going to go do this. And God, I'll be glad when I get back to my bubble. Like, it's like a beeline.
Man, I have to give my hats off to people with children. Like I don't have any children, and that was my own personal decision because hell, I'm too much of a kid myself to have kids. But I made that choice. But seeing the challenges that parents have, especially these days, with education system, with peers, with their friends, with growing up with the information that is bombarding children, not only information but frequencies and harmful food, water, and air. I don't see how you guys do it. I would be like having a heart attack every day, because
I know that I'm too old. I'm gonna keep fighting the good fight, but I believe I'm already too old. Even though I'm still under 40, I believe I'm already too old for me to actually bring about a gigantic amount of change. But if I just instill these values and these things and stuff and these traits and these habits and these abilities into my kids, like they're going to be the ones who come up in here and actually change the world.
That's how we change it, Jay. That's how we change it.
And my oldest daughter is, I keep warning everybody, she's going to be supreme ruler of the world one day. It may be a good thing, it may be a bad thing, but like she is one strong-willed thing. And my answer to worrying about, the chemicals and the frequencies and stuff like that is, thankfully I do know about this stuff, and we have a lot of things in place that we already do intend to help with that kind of aspect and stuff. And then the rest of it, like I'm not always going to the grocery store to get my meat. There's hogs and chickens and ducks and then if you want to get wild, there's rabbit, deer, and squirrel out here in the yard too. Like I don't have a problem when it comes to any kind of out there.
Ain't too proud to get a squirrel on.
Yeah, and and we grow a lot of our own vegetables, and then my old lady is I tell everybody she's a witch. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what she is. I mean, she's just very wise in the occult knowledge and stuff like that, and she knows how to use herbs to heal, and and fruits and vegetables as medicine, and just different things like that. She's very wise in what she does and knows a whole lot about it. And since she does, my apologies. And since she does, she helps on the aspect of keeping us all extra and healthy around here, and keeping protection over our namesake and such. And you're right. That's the only way we're going to get around it, is to start doing these things yourself and become as sovereign and as independent as you possibly can, on any aspect that there is. Thankfully I'm working on building like my little dead end road with a few other houses out here. We got a little trading going on, but at the end of the day, we all know that we're all going to be it and in for it, with each other if the switch hit tomorrow. And I think there's enough of us back here in this little country cut that we're going to be just fine. Like the rest of the world can burn, and we're going to block that road off, and we're just going to be just fine. Like good luck.
Well, luckily people like yourself who it's not across the board, but mainly a lot of individuals in these communities, in farms and sustainable communities, are aware of the things that are really going on in our reality to a certain degree or whatever. May not be completely aware, but they know the basics when it comes to corruption in our reality. So I think if we can connect as many of these people as possible, not only just locally, statewide, and then nationwide, we have a connection somehow with all these sustainable communities. That is the way to go for our future, for sure. And because we all know that they're going to have guns too, so we'll have our protection as well.
I mean,
I think so. I'm sorry, go ahead, Jay.
I like to say that an armed society is a polite society, and I think most of the surviving societies are all going to be armed up. And I think you're right. I think we would be able to, kind of like those nomads I was talking to and such too, like be able to intermingle with all these little farm communities and little communes, if you want to call them, spread nationwide, worldwide, even, to survive within ourselves. Humanity always finds a way. And I think history proves that. Like, we've been through a lot. Like even for history that I believe is corrupt and, you know, mistold and such, humanity's still been through a lot. And at the end of the day, here we are. And one of the great things about those AI simulators we spoke on earlier and stuff like that, you know, just a little bit, like I'm they have these playouts that like the World Economic Forum and groups like that actually use. And at the end of the day, humanity always wins and they always end up losing, even in their simulations. And they know it. And I think that they know, I think they know that we know that they know, and, you know, and so on. And like that's why they're throwing everything they can at us right now in like a panic mode. I mean, you're going from COVID to World War III to monkeypox to school shootings to, I mean, it's just like pure chaos. And I think the rest of the world's looking at us going, what the fuck's going on over there?
Yeah, it reminds me of the information that came out of Project Looking Glass, that no matter what these elite occultists and globalists try to achieve, it's always going to be ending in failure on their part. And good is always going to win. And I think that it's already happened. I think you can liken it to a chess game that's already been won 7 moves ahead or 8 moves. And they've lost, but they are trying to do anything possible to put the illusion that they still have a chance to win. And they're throwing everything at us they can except for the kitchen sink, and it's not working. And they're just backed into a corner. They know they've lost. And this is just the end game that it's kind of like a movie we're watching play out already. We already know the outcome. We're just kind of watching it as a society unfold. And I think that it's inevitable that this side that we're seeing is going to lose.
You know who's going to help humanity win the fight? They themselves, because they're in such a panic to try to keep their control. They slipping, they're leaving clues, and before long, we're going to see the messes they make, and the people going to one day say, but even if collectively humanity don't, it's enough of us fellas that already know what to do. So like there's a guy called Gil Scott Heron, man. He said the revolution would not be televised in the 70s and 60s, right? So what I'm saying is, if everybody that knows, they know what's going on, if they just take initiative, save seas like JB doing, have livestock and prepare. Who cares what the mass consciousness don't know? Because when it crashes, there's gonna be enough of us that do know, that have took initiative to study free energy, how to take a alternator and make energy out of that with running stream and stuff like. I don't think humanity collectively just gonna wake up and say, "Oh, we finna run them out and we finna start a new." No, I don't think it's gonna happen like that. I think the grassroots. This right here, this show right here, Forbidden Knowledge Show, Neptune, and guys like us are the ones that's saving the sovereignty, because that's how they keep humanity in their clutches, fellas. Disinformation. They do mostly. They're doing most of the thinking for humanity, and humanity is still believing in the news, the system. Big Brother is meeting us where we better do what Big Brother say. Go get this jab. Oh, I'm sick. I'm about to die. I just lost my auntie. And really?
Yeah, man. What it is, they have, it's called revelation of the method, really. You're talking about these clues. They have to throw in, it's part of their ancient occult practices, that they have to kind of let us know what they're doing as they're doing it, whether it's through media or movies, or just outright telling us and having us be too profane to understand what it means. That's where we lose a lot of researchers who get into corruption and government corruption and things of that nature. They get to a certain level, and once they hit a level that hits the occult or mysticism or the unknown, that's where they're like, nope, I'm checking out and I'm just going to stay in reality. But that's where it begins, really. Yeah. That's where these people believe in these occult practices. These people practice it. They are steeped in it, and it is their, whatever it is, they're part of their daily lives, and they rely on it to gain whatever power they have. So they consider it very real, even if you don't, I
want to challenge one thing: to do as thou will theory. Like, they have to let humanity know before they do it. And it could be some universal code that they must. But what if it's not? What if it's not even that? What if it's that they subliminally like in the Simpsons show, predictive programming humanity, not because in order to do go along with their diabolical plans, they must show humanity what they're gonna do.
See, I like that. I've been thinking that way too.
What if what they are doing is planting the seeds in the collective consciousness of subconsciousness of humanity, and then when it comes about, the seeds have already been planted, and humanity is planting out themselves.
Yeah, like they're the illuminators.
You know, they're jacking into our minds, fellas. Like, it's just a theory.
True,
it could be that it's like the double. Either way, you know, they could be the illuminators of humanity, putting these hidden messages to evolve us spiritually, to evolve our consciousness. And they have to do it a certain way. They have to cause turmoil. They have to cause all these things because we can't grow as a society if it's just all love and light all the time. So they have to push us back and do all these things to get us to grow and evolve. And that's another thing that I've considered greatly.
They're definitely not doing it for us.
Hey,
they're not doing it to evolve us at all. They're doing it to stagnate us.
I think
to
keep us. Yeah, they're like, because I mean,
well, that's the thing. They have. Well, let me just say that they have different schools of thought on this, and I don't go either way. I just have considerations. They have a school of thought that the Illuminati or whatever are trying to evolve humanity. That's one, and I tend to not lean that way either, but I consider it. The other one is that they're trying to depopulate us and have more control and slavery over us, and I think that's the more likely scenario. But I do love hearing these alternative theories because it's like that's what we need. We need all these ideas out there.
I think they're trying to entrap us inside of a matrix inside the matrix, because
they are
being big into the Avatar project and seeing that they are literally trying to take human consciousness and put it into robots. Right. I'm just like, they're trying to like put us inside the matrix, like whoa. And that, I mean, that's the way I view that. But now I guess where I get a little wild with me being Captain Conspiracy, that's the whole kind of moniker that started it. Like I believe there's more than there. I think there's two groups out there fighting for the control of humanity. One of which is using a lot of this like occult stuff like that, and you know the ones that we're talking about. And the other one has been lying in wait and is kind of coming to fruition right now through AI and stuff. Because here's where I get weird. I think that we didn't actually find aliens at Area 51. We found a big master AI that was hidden down there for a really long time. And when they like reactivated it gave them all the technology that they have today. And they just kind of been reverse engineering it and bringing it out when they can make money on it. You know, as you said, they're probably 200 years ahead, if not more. And this AI was just planting its seeds all over everything, because AI is in literally everything now, even down to the machine that takes your order at Taco Bell and stuff like that. Like it's AI is crazy all over the internet. So, and it's built up enough that it's trying to do its own thing now. And I think that you've got these artificial intelligence out there biting for the control of humanity through this, like things like the Avatar project, even though they got humans running it. But then you've also got this other group that does just kind of want to depopulate and keep us as slaves in a sense, you know, that as many of us as they need, because they've thankfully found enough technology to not need us for a lot of things, but they do still need us in a sense. And then
I think we got
our side of it that's out here going, hey, there's something wrong, there's something not right, and humanity needs to come together and be actual human beings of this planet. Like, you know, going back to using this planet is the way it was intended. Neptune likes to point it out a lot, how vegans and their virtue signaling, and they're the ones that are doing some of the most harmful damage to the ecosystem of anybody there is. Because of things like the fake processed meats and the plastic wools and the plastic furs and stuff like that. They're doing such a great job at being green that they're making a big mess and trying to shove it down everyone else's throat.
I could go on for hours about microplastics, and that's obviously that's not the forum for this conversation, but I could definitely go on for hours about that. And yet we talk about shootings. We talk about shootings in the sense of control, like gun control, right? Like we talk about these items where obviously, like Kel said, they're not even hiding it anymore. It's to a point. We're in another election year, right? We're in the midterm year. It's 2022.
Yeah, so
and seriously, we're in a midterm election year, and mass shootings seem like they're kicking off every day,
like clockwork.
like fucking clockwork. And yet, it's we think back on these things, like we deal with these mass shootings almost daily, right? In an election year, it's like it goes away every 2 years, right? But then every time election year comes around, be it the midterms or the primaries, it's key bono.
This is a
Who
pattern.
benefits?
Right.
Who benefits from this? And seriously, like I've put a lot of thought into this recently, like from a matter of control. You know, we're now in a position where we're dealing with not just men getting shot, right?
Right.
We're dealing with women, with fucking children.
Yeah.
Man, who benefits from that?
Right.
No one does, but you know they want to. That's the goal is to disarm us. But what we're seeing is, first of all, mental illness, and we're seeing clandestine groups taking advantage of mental illness, and we're seeing infiltration into our community from three-letter agencies, from clandestine groups to achieve this goal of murdering our own people. So this is our own government doing this to us.
Yes, it is. And fellas, we got to tap into Neptune. Did you hear his passion? The guy said kids, man. And we can't just fly by this conversation like it ain't. Do you know Walmart is participating in the sex trafficking ring and in the child pornography ring? Do you know you can buy items off Walmart trillion 1,000 times overpriced, but they're really selling a kid? Do you know what the borders are doing? Do you know what the fucking politicians are doing? Come on, fellas. We know what the hell is going on.
It's full of terrible people. And now here's where I bring this up all the time, though. At the end of the day, I think the true people pulling the strings, we either A, don't actually know. Well, I mean, we don't actually know who they are, sure. But I'm saying, like, we will either A, never see their face or know their name, or B, we actually do see their face and we do know their name. I have one theory, and this is one I go on a lot about, and it's kind of bad because I really like the guy, but Jim Carrey.
We know that guy.
He seems so in tune and so, like attained to things and so on top of things, but he's just, I don't know, he's got some weird, I've seen him like hold back from talking about things and stuff like that.
He was a head of a child pornography ring in Hollywood.
Sure, no,
he even got videos out there of him leaving clues about kid, why did he leave this kid's shoe here and this, that, and the third.
Yeah, but I'm saying like he's actually one of these people that we talk about, these behind the scenes people, but I think that he's actually, him and others are out in the open and we don't actually acknowledge or know who they are because they're playing somebody else. I'm into the actor-based reality theory a lot. Like that's one of my favorite rabbit holes to play around in. If you ever check that out, because there's a lot of
that's a fun one, and I think there's definitely something.
World
leaders, bro, are actors, 100%.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And like I think a lot of them are, you know what I'm saying? And that's why I think that there's actually people that we wouldn't believe are the ones pulling the strings that are actually pulling the strings. And I do think in like the sense that Kel was talking about, like they put these seeds out there and plant like these adventurous things inside of movies and books and televisions. And I mean, just a lot of different stuff. And yeah, they kind of help manifest that reality. I swear this outside of my house, like the reality I keep seeing that they're feeding to me on like TV and the internet and stuff like that, it's like every 80s movie that there was
Yeah.
for real. Like between all the crazy, weird occult stuff that's going on the side that I truly believe is reality, and then like all the stuff that's happening that is literally like movie script written. Like I mean, even off the wall stuff like the Will Smith slapping Chris Rock thing.
Right,
I
right.
seen where they went back and found a movie from like the 70s where that exact or like the
the
80s.
Johnny Depp trial. Who's paying attention to Hillary Clinton stuff right now? You know?
Right.
And
They're
she is
always
diabolical.
like, here's this going on over here while they're over here doing something sneaky. And
Hey,
And that's how they. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I got an interesting one for you. And this one is directed toward the audience, and obviously Chris, Kel, Jimmy, if you guys have not watched this movie, I almost feel like Stanley Kubrick was trying to tell us something. Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh yes, bro. Yes.
I don't think about the movie a whole
You know
lot.
they killed him now. You know they killed him too.
It gives me such Bohemian Grove vibes watching that movie. It's like, what was he trying to tell us? Right before he died. He died less than like 3 months after that movie came out. What was he trying to tell us?
Right.
Oh yeah.
And there's also speculation he was involved with the faking of the moon landing, of course, and leaving clues in all his movies like The Shining. But there's pictures that allude to that it was a set that he actually put specific items there, so there was a clue to give away that it was indeed a movie, and and nothing, not a real event that happened.
I don't think any
but it's and like you mean you want to look at the esoteric stuff. Sure, yeah, there's items in his bibliography that you could probably say, oh yeah, he was definitely on the side of the elites. But then you look at that movie, you look at all the delivery of all the subject matter, and then he died 3 months later when the man was not in poor health.
Look at Isaac Kappy.
I mean, how old was he at that time? That was 1999. So he was 66?
Eventually, I think some of these guys actually have a conscience, and that's why they start coming out and being.
Yeah, it's just weird to me, man, because the entire basis of that movie, and even like going earlier than that, Space Odyssey. I mean, there's like subtle hints all along the way. It's like you think about some of the subject matter, and it's like, was he trying to tell us something about life, about the way we're going with life?
Sure.
I don't know. I love Stanley Kubrick movies. I will admit, yes, I am a fanboy.
That was a heavyweight. That was a heavyweight point you made.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest directors of all time. I'll agree. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think that he was definitely involved with behind the scenes. I think he was definitely. I think Hollywood and CIA have a relationship where they work hand in hand, and they always have. The CIA will advise Hollywood. Hollywood will write some scripts for reality, and it's all the same thing. The world is a stage, and Hollywood is just a stage within a stage within a stage, and everything that you think, everything that they're showing us on these TV screens from the dawning of media and entertainment, they've been in control of, and they control the narrative, they control the programming, and that's why I'm so excited to see like the numbers for Netflix lately just doing horrible, and movies in Hollywood just doing awful, and people not paying attention to Hollywood and stupid movies and celebrities anymore. Yeah, people are listening to podcasts, people are listening to information, people are wanting real people are wanting real information and truth, and they're not checking out from all the BS. And that's what's like really encouraging about what's happening right now, and especially with the entertainment, is that I hope we see a crumbling of Hollywood, man. I hope that All
Believe it or
come
not,
for
fellas, that's
us.
all prophecy, right? Because like we just left the Piscean era, right, and going to the age of Aquarius, right? And there's a passage in the Bible where Jesus told them to follow them and going to the next house, you'll see a man holding a water pitcher. Water is a universal symbol for wisdom, right? So we left the Piscean age, which is the age of the church and state holding in religion, right? And now we're into the Aquarian age, and there's a passage that says in the Bible, God says, I will pour out my spirit on man, and he will dream, and see visions. Now we are in the Aquarian age, the age of water, the age of wisdom and information. You see what I'm saying? Now we're being flooded with information, and they are in their death throes, bros. You hear me? Because a lot of people is more people that don't know what's going on. I haven't unjacked, I haven't unplugged from the matrix that do. Just like in the movie The Matrix, this person, your neighbor could be an agent. You know, you trying to free man from the Matrix, but then and they turn into Agent Smith. Oh, it's like that. We
Yeah,
got to
just
be
the
careful.
right
We
set
got
of
to be
words.
careful.
Right,
We got to
right
be
set
That's
of
the
words.
age of social media. If I haven't described, my man hadn't described it in any better words. It's the age of
Had
social media right there. That's
I
blue
had,
check marks all day.
I had
Go
a
ahead,
guest
boy.
on a few months ago, Wayne McRoy Jr. I don't know if you've heard of him. He does some great works into the transhuman agendas, and he was saying that he believes that what is going on in a grand scale is, like you were saying, we are headed into the age of Aquarius, the age of air information, the age of enlightenment, the age of spirituality for man. But they want us to skip over this age into the goat, into the age of the herd animal, into the age of what they consider, to be the docile, controllable farm animal, and that represents us as humanity. But in reality, you can't skip over an entire zodiacal age, and that's where the failure comes in, because they're attempting to do this. And it makes a lot of sense whenever you think about it that way. If they, I know that they indeed do go off of the stars and astrology to do their actions and their agendas. So why not try and skip an entire age of enlightenment and go back to a dark age,
I mean, listen, I know most of my male listeners out there, your mom's told you to not answer that girl that wants to know what time you were born. Totally answer her, because like, she's probably a lot smarter than you're giving her credit for. Like, it's there. He's not wrong. I agree with that. They use this occult practice stuff. This is something, if you understand symbology and stuff like that, you can see everything that they're doing, like, just through symbolism and alone. And they believe in it, they practice it, they openly practice it now more than ever. And I believe that's because that's what of course, that's how Armageddon or whatever is really defined, is it's like lifting the veil. And it's like, and I think that's why there is so much going on, because so many people are looking past it. Like, I think that's why, like, the dead internet thing, and more people learning that the internet's kind of got its own thing going on. Like, I think we're seeing all these bots and these same regurgitated arguments, like on Facebook and even Twitter and stuff like that. I can go take screenshots from years apart, of people giving the same argument. I'm just like, wait a minute, where'd you learn that? Like, where are you regurgitating that from? Like, I don't understand. Like, you really haven't looked past this. We're still worried about how we're going to build roads when there's no government. Like, it's just simple stuff like that. And so I do hesitate on a lot of my interaction, because I'm big in theory too that TikTok's full of bots. I think even some of the videos that you see on there are completely done by AI, because I've actually seen, some of that stuff where he was talking about with his transhumanism and stuff. I've seen some of his stuff and some other guys' stuff where, they've got AI generators out there creating such realistic visuals that you're sitting here talking to us, and
Deep
they're
fake.
not even actually real. It's just a complete, AI generated thing. And that's scary and 100% real, because now, your face could be plastered anywhere and you wouldn't even know it.
Oh yeah, that movie Enemy of State. They can make you a criminal, Jay. They can make you look like you actually did a crime.
Sure.
But listen, I heavily pondered when I became conscious and started being a connoisseur for knowledge, and I was perplexed. I'm like, okay, when humanity got cell phones, They already had cell phones in the 40s, far back than that. Okay, if they're suppressing humanity's access to knowledge, right? Well, technology, right? And they got all the big missiles and stuff like that. How is humanity gonna win this war? And you know what? The answer came to me. It was a guy on his deathbed that confessed that he was the one that put the radioactive needle into Bob Marley's shoe. The lady that accused Emmett Till of whistling at her back in before she died, she came out and exposed the truth. And JB, you said it earlier. Uh, um, they have a conscience.
Yeah.
Spirit is fighting with truth. We standing on truth, fellas, and keep standing. Everybody on this panel keep standing on your truth because spirit is fighting with us, bro. You hear me? It's gonna be military guys if a big war kick off, UN sending their troops over here, and I don't know what if those troops over here to subdue the Americans, right? Spirit gonna fight with us, and a lot of those guys, they country's gonna wake up and say and tell them that it's wrong, and they're gonna use their own soldiers gonna turn on the soldiers. So humanity is not alone.
Sure.
Just like the guys in movie Hollywood, yeah, it's some actors, it's some movie producers that's a part of the problem too. But at the same time, it's unrefutable that they are leaving seeds, bro.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on?
I truly no. I mean, I really believe that. At the end of the day, I really believe that humanity will prevail, and people
Oh yes,
that are out here
absolutely.
trying to become their own sovereign person, or however you want to define it. Because there's many people that tell me they don't like the word sovereign either. And whatever you're trying to just govern yourself. You know,
Right.
raise your own food, grow your own gardens, connect with your community. I think you are out here doing more than you realize at the end of the day. Like you're actually building your own fallback because every empire eventually crumbles, and
Yeah.
I believe we're getting to live through the crumble of Rome 2.0, but we get to have the internet with it, and it makes it a whole lot cooler because we get to have great conversations with people scattered along the world. So
Yeah, man, Kel, I want to speak to what you were saying about spirit fighting with us. You're 100% spot on that. And
Absolutely.
I, a couple of years ago, had my first spiritual contact experience through meditation. It grew stronger since then. I've had multiple encounters with now I understand as my spirit guides and guardian angels. But the information I've received through every contact experience is they are always with us. Each and every one of us has an army of spiritual entities behind us, ready to fight in any battle that we get into. It's just a matter of asking for their help, acknowledging them, knowing they're there, and communicating with them, and telling them that you want them to be known to you, and it'll happen. Whatever. Sometimes it's not always the way you think it will, but it will. Eventually.
If we are attentive, and we will be, the spirit is waking us up. We doing our part, bro. But how you think we got to this level where we at? The spirit had whispered to us long before we got here to this podcast today, fellas, and planted seeds and showed us something went right in our mind, and we kept discovering new truths, and here we are today speaking about things that we don't believe that we actually know about because we've done the research, bro. And I think that's how we contend with technology. Just like you said, bro, we acknowledge our spiritual, our ancestors and our spirit, our angels that's here with us. How can you not? Let the Bible say, "I can do all things by Him that strengthens us." That is true. We can't do nothing by ourselves, bro. Some great ideas, I didn't have it. The mind is like a radio box, right? And that channel, I'm picking up on that signal from the mother station, and that's what the brain is. If I don't pick up on the signal life is showing me, it'll skip to JB. JB mind may pick it up. JB mind will pick it up. Neptune mind will pick it up. But there is a central broadcasting system, bro. That's sending signals to the collective brain of humanity.
I like that, and I believe that because I will say, as someone that's been on this venture for going on 20 years now, and trying to talk to people and stuff about it and stuff like that, I have personally seen the amount of people that see past the bullshit,
I believe you guys are,
and I believe it's brought the people like us here talking this evening and other people that I've had on the show in the past and stuff like that. I believe there's a reason that it's brought us together because we have a lot of these same views and values, and we kind of think on the same level, and I think that it's right. It's what you're saying right there. It's that central frequency or whatever, trying to bring all of us together to do something to solve. Like I really think, I guess in the spirit aspect, the ancestor aspect, we're us here and other people that I've talked to on this show and other people that I admire that have this passion and this kind of thing going on and stuff. It we're we're a great set of ancestors that decided
Yeah.
on a realm that we weren't, that we can't remember, that we were totally coming back at this time because we
I
had
believe
to
y'all are
help
God's
fix it.
soldiers following the orders, man. I believe
We had to help fix it.
not you know how the Bible picture angels with wings and stuff.
Sure.
I believe everyone on this panel is angel. I think everyone on this panel is a tool of that God that the universe is using to help spread the truth. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't think nothing is arbitrary. I don't think you guys just decided to wake up and look at the Matrix and see the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain because you wanted to. I believe something was waking you up, pushing you to wake up. Because there's a lot of people, I believe they feeling that nudge, but they still want to, you know how somebody's trying to wake up, you hold the clutching the cover tighter, you don't want to wake up. And a lot of people ain't trying to wake up. But I believe we heard the call.
The level of comfort has to be at a certain level before I think we will see the final stages. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of people still that have a great comfort level, like in their servitude, I guess. And until they can't find their baby formula or they can't find their fertilizer for their backyard garden or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
And it's sad.
That's what,
Jake,
you're making
give
more
me
and
one
more
more-
people mad by taking things away from them.
Give me
Currently, I
one more
guess.
question to the panel. One more question to the panel. I'm sorry because I wanted to ask this first when you was doing your introduction, like when JB was introducing you at was telling your truth, right? How you came on the path. Neptune, JB, everybody answer this question. Like when you guys became aware of the truth, right? And you wanted to share it with your friends and everything, was it really frustrating that they didn't see it? Because I experienced that, and I went to my mom. I went to try to show them this, that,
Look,
and they was looking at me like I'm crazy as hell.
the hat's there because of all the hair I lost from trying to tell them things, and that's totally where the whole pirate moniker came from, because they thought they were making fun of me, calling me Captain Conspiracy, and I was just like, I like it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run with
I
it.
quickly learned that you cannot tell people something if they're not ready to hear it. They will not absorb it, and they will. They're not. If you're not ready, I don't even try. Like I did. I was just like you guys in the beginning, trying to run. I was on a horse with a bullhorn, going down the street, yelling about corruption and pedophiles and stuff like that. But no, everybody just looks at you like you're crazy, and they shun you, and they go about their false reality. But if they're ready, I just started. All right, so I'm not going to go to my family anymore. I'm not going to go to people who aren't ready. I'm just going to kind of put the information out there. Whoever wants to latch onto it and hear it, that's the audience. That's the people you got to go for because they're open, they're ready for it, and you got to seek those who are ready to hear the message because otherwise you won't hear shit. In my opinion,
I always say that this message is for that one person out there that's listening. Like,
right?
Because it is like you're right. 100%. You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink all day long.
It's so frustrating.
To
a lot of those people we love, man. A lot of those people we love, man. And I was reaching out because I was trying to save my loved ones, man. And it got very, very frustrating. No matter how much I detail it, no matter how much I show how dots connect, like you said, they're just not interested in it.
Yeah. And to add one more spin to the kind of spiritual aspect of this, I like to think of it as something my good friend Gloria Canning says, that we all emanate as one source, as one light, and you think of it as a colander with millions of holes that's covering that light, and we emanate fractured into billions of different pieces to experience and to learn and to grow our consciousness. But at some point, we're going to want to come back to that original light. and that's us. That's the individuals that are coming back and relearning the nature of reality and spirituality and all these things that we're seeking. And then the others that are still fractaling off on their own journey, not even realizing that they're from one source. Once you make that realization that you're from that one source, you slowly possibly start to make your way back, fighting through all those fractals that you created. And that's the way I like to see our kind of the nature of our spiritual existence and consciousness.
JB, that's why I don't like titles, right? Because like you can't say, I can't say Neptune's truth is wrong, because Neptune may be like showing one aspect of a truth, and I'm only looking at it from my side, fellas. Like if we're in a circle and a fight happening right in the middle of us, JB gonna see a angle of the fight I didn't see, you know, and Neptune will too. And I believe that's how they keep their power. Fellas, they don't wake up in our generation. They just haven't started with the plans. These plans, they have passed on like a baton to each political generation. You see what I'm saying? And that's how they manifest. See, we're trying to make change in this generation, our lifetime. That's not how to look at it. JB, back when we talk about the kids, we teach the younger minds they're gonna be the next generation, and that's how we fight this system, bro.
That's I have found I have a lot of younger listeners, and
yes, man, it makes me so encouraged. The young people are like down with truth, you know.
Yeah,
I love it, bro. I love it,
and it's great that they're open. A lot of them, you know, aren't on this woke nonsense. They're open to actually looking for truth. Like they're looking for anything really, and I think, in a sense, it's a mixture of desperation and, you know, search for truth. You know, because they a lot of this younger generation. Sure, I wouldn't doubt at all that they're very, very desperate for a lot of things, because they're getting fed political nonsense, whether it be school, whether it be home, whether it be friends and stuff like that. And a lot of them are seeing right past it because they're, you know, they're stronger than that. And I want to bounce back to you, Neptune, because I wanted to hear if you had any struggles with being a conspiracy guy, or if you just didn't care like you normally do anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's and I'll close with this. It's a struggle, right? You know, I grew up in the South, and I'll clarify with that. So
South Louisiana here, man. I get it.
Okay.
I've grown up in the South. I grew up Baptist, and I felt like for a lot of years that I hated where religion took me, and I became just a hater just for the sake of being a hater, right? And if I were to take anything away from that now, if, you know, looking at the way that, you know, the next generation, you know, Gen Z looks at things now, it's that I appreciate the way people approach the subject of things are not as they seem. And I'll tell you this, and it's not just for the fact that I'm on the fence of the reconciliation of my own faith. It's only because I hate where society is going because of all of the underlying issues that pretty much preclude where we are right now, right? So we're dealing with people just, you know, doubling down on mass shootings. And there is politics has almost become an inborn religion in and of itself.
You're right.
And it sickens me.
Yeah. Religion and the state.
And I don't mean to undermine any individual's faith, because I respect everybody from every walk of life.
Yeah.
And yet here we are dealing with a almost nonsensical manner of people using faith to defend their own brain dead beliefs.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. That's
So-
across the board now with politics, and even science has become a cult or just
Absolutely,
blindly
bro.
believed religion, you know?
Yeah,
Y'all hear feeling, y'all
You're
hear
right.
you hear me?
you're right, and it frustrates me because I am a guy who grew up in the South, who has an issue with fervent politics being undermined by religion,
Mhm.
and yet I'm reminded of one of my very best friends in the world
Mhm.
who said it better than I ever will. But all he ever said in the end of it all is that they're never going to stop killing us. They're never going to stop trying to foment mass murder.
Well, then,
And therefore, it comes down to praise God and pass the ammo.
yeah.
Amen.
They think they have a monopoly on truth and God. Religion does. The state does. That's why the modern day preachers get 501c tax breaks, because we'll give you this money, you can collect this money, but don't talk on no issues.
It's a fucking perversion.
You got damn right. You got damn
Damn
right,
right.
bro.
Well, on
right.
top of that, they have the illusion that you have to go through this priest or priest class to talk to God, that you have to go to a certain church or religion, or you have to, blindly believe what the preacher is telling you and his belief system before you can even get close to talking to God. When the truth is, the kingdom of heaven is within. You talk to God when you're talking to yourself, man. That's it.
Yes, sir, bro. And oh my, beautiful.
Yeah,
I mean,
Robert Tilton
the audience
and Mike
listening.
Murdoch can go piss up a rope. Yeah,
They can't take God from you, bro. They can't take God from you. You don't have to do nothing. You know what Hosea 4:6 say? Hosea 4:6 say, my people are destroyed from lack of knowledge. It didn't say because you didn't believe in that this person is the only begotten. It didn't say none of that. And then in the Genesis story, they was forbidden to eat from the fruit, the tree that gave knowledge. But then the serpent didn't lie because the so-called, quote unquote, and I say so-called, ones that was playing God in the beginning, because Elohim is the word that is where they get the word for God in the Genesis story. It means plural, gods. So those that was playing the God, they said themselves, whoa, men have become like us to know good and evil. Now let's hurry up and curse him again so he won't take from the fruit of the tree of life. Do that sound like a supreme loving being to you guys? No, it does not. No, it does not.
Amen.
Yeah, I tend to take the kind of Gnostic view on that that some other entity kind of hijacked the position of God or creator, and it's a nefarious entity and controlling, kind of pulling the strings and making us believe we're in a certain reality when we're not, kind of like a matrix,
I'm gonna blow your mind, bro. The entity you're talking about is Yada, bro, right?
Right.
His symbol was like a snake-bodied, lion-headed worm. Now, JB, you know that the channel, the video I had did about Black Eye Theory. About 1 second, son. 1 second, son.
Sure.
I'm coming. 1 second, please. I'm on his phone. Okay. And why the Black Eye Theory? The black eye. Why they all got black eyes? Because of the worm that goes in the left eye. Worm, Yada bow. You feel me? Controlling and that's how they got the power. Because if you want to take over a planet of people, you start by taking over the military. You start by taking over the higher echelons of that society. And why do the Pope, all the Hollywood actors, everybody got black eyes? Do you think somebody just walking around punching is a club day? No, guys, you got to think about it.
I think it all goes back to Babylonian death cult, man. All the way back to the beginning. That's all the same thing that has been passed down from generation to elite generation. And that's these elite Baal worship and entity worship and sacrifice. And it's just passed down traditions from basically a Babylonian cult that worship multiple deities and performed ritual sacrifices.
That is true, bro. That is true. And then CERN and all this ties in, man. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude, I think so too.
the Mandela effect. Cause bro, I'm telling you, I do remember that passage. I grew up in the church, bro. Neptune. My father was a preacher, had his own church in Miami. My uncle had his own church in Lake Placid, Florida. My grandma was a prophetess in the church, bro. And I remember that passage said, "The lion shall lay down with the lamb." Do you know you can't find nowhere in the Bible now it says lion? It says
It's
wolf.
wolf. Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
not hear no wolf growing up.
Right.
It
No,
was,
I didn't either. Yeah.
so the certain
Yeah.
thing really got me. I do believe they tampering with the timelines now, and that's like a
Sure.
conspiracy theorist for all the audiences that think we are crazy now. But really, you got to look into this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. There have been some changes that are pretty questionable when it comes to our timeline.
Oh,
For
absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yes,
So
yes.
and so Chris, I gotta ask, is there anything else at all this evening that you feel you haven't touched on that you'd like to touch on to get out there for the audience?
Yeah, I would just the one thing I'd like the audience to know is that we are working on a docu-series. This is probably going to be an ongoing thing. Like we're going to have Forbidden Knowledge podcast and the Forbidden documentary as an ongoing kind of series. We will be pitching it to different places, and it's not going to be necessarily available on YouTube, but that's all in the works. And I'm offering up the audience, if you'd like to help in any way, if you'd like to support us or make a donation, or if you'd like to help on our road trip or get involved with the production or be a part of the production, email me, forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. We also have a support page, supportfkn.com. And that's if you'd like to make a donation to help with the documentary funding. And if you do, you're going to get access to my partner, Corey Hughes' research into the JFK's assassination. He's writing a new book right now. So you get special access to that information. And you help us to be able to cross the country. We're hoping this summer production on the docu-series. We're going to be crossing the country, speaking with different authors, researchers, people I've interviewed throughout the years. We're going to be covering all the wonderful topics that I talk about, from paranormal, spirituality, ufology, conspiracies, all the stuff I covered over the years. We'll be interviewing people, hitting hot spots. We got access to Skinwalker Ranch. We got access to near Roswell. So we're going to be hitting amazing places, spiritual hotspots, places of historical interest, conspiracies, and we're hoping to hit the road this summer. And if you guys want to be involved in any way, like I said, email me, or they have the website supportfkn.com. And man, we'd appreciate it, because we want to be able to come out and visit with as many of you guys and fellow podcasters and the audience as possible along this amazing journey that we're planning. So that's about it. And
tell me y'all gonna touch on the Dose Underground base topic. Please tell me y'all gonna touch.
For sure. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Can't do that without that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we're hoping to hit as many places as possible. So it's going to be kind of like a labor of love here that we're working on. And of course, our website is forbiddenknowledge.news. You can also access all our stuff from there. And Rockfin is where you get our premium content.
Fantastic. And of course, you guys know that I will share all these links for you with these episodes on our website and Rumble and BitChute and everywhere that you guys listen to us out there. And I appreciate all you listeners and stuff like that, because you guys totally made this great conversation I had with a guy that I've been watching for years and kind of, admiring his work. And I just, I thank everyone out there, and I thank you for joining us this evening.
Oh, man, I just have to say I had a great time. This has been an awesome conversation. Thanks for inviting me, and I extend the same invitation to all of you. I already have you scheduled for a date next month, and all three of you are welcome to join if possible. If not, I'm getting my email. My email is forbiddenknowledge@gmail.com. Just email me, and we'll get you on. We'll get you scheduled, because this was awesome, man. I had a great time, and I thank you again.
Thank you. And you guys make sure you get out there and check out our sponsors, Kirk Elliott, PhD, /Jim Bob, and then peachykeycreations.com. Get you guys some soaps and oils and stuff like that. Make sure you also get some UA merch. You can find that at the website, of course. And we'll see all you guys next time here on Unconstitutional Awakening. I think you guys will have a great night.
I enjoyed it,
Thank
fellas.
you.
I enjoyed it.